or as it was done in Sri Lanka. Economic stabilization, which is an ongoing process, is currently undertaken. Infrastructure development, much has been said about it, and this seminar is all about that. And justice, and finally the reconciliation, which is the ultimate aim of conflict resolving. As far as India is concerned, we have had varied experiences in resolving the post-conflict situations. We are aware that winning the peace can be much more difficult than winning a conflict or a war. Peace in conflict areas is at best fragile and needs to be nurtured with caution, considering the stakes involved for all sections of the society. People will blame those in power for the death of their loved ones. Whether their loved ones died of a bullet, lack of medical care, or even lack of potable water. What matters is that the government or the occupying forces, that is the other forces which come in, fail to prevent a preventable death. This leaves a mark on the psyche of the population. He is not concerned that the person died of natural causes or died of, as I brought out earlier, of a lack of medical care and things. He is only looking that in the times of so-and-so, when they were in command, my kith and kins, they died. So therefore, it leaves a permanent mark on the psyche of the individual. And that is all about reconciliation later on. The biggest challenge is to overcome the damage caused to the psyche of the concerned population, and strategy for stabilization and reconstruction must keep this vital aspect in mind, both during and after the conflict. While stabilization is key to ending violence, reconstruction helps prevent a return to violence by addressing long-term drivers of the conflict. As you are all aware, Government of Sri Lanka has correctly identified 5 Rs. We have talked about these at length today, but what I would like to bring out is that as the time passes, first 4 Rs pave the way for reconciliation. To that extent, I think the efforts that we have seen since morning are in the right direction, and in times to come, as the time passes, as I said, the reconciliation will take place. India has responded spontaneously to any appeal for assistance by Sri Lankan government to tackle its problem, whether it was post-tsunami or post-conflict. The Government of India put in place a robust program of assistance and resettlement. In 2009, India announced a grant of 12 billion Sri Lankan rupees for relief and rehabilitation. Certain areas where focused assistance to support the effort of Sri Lankan government were identified, and they are livelihood and shelter, to include immediate requirement for shelter, sustenance, and long-term requirements for accommodation. This is the first requirement. The revival of the agriculture sector, because it deals with day-to-day livelihood of the people, and as we have brought out and as we have seen earlier, the northern parts of the country are predominantly agro-based economy. Education and capacity building, to include construction of schools and scholarships. Information technology initiatives in the form of e-learning centers. Healthcare, including supply of medicines and constructions of hospitals. Vocational training with an aim to harness youth and empower women. Cultural revival, industrial development, connectivity, and transport requirements. Now, all these things put together bring about these 5 Rs. Every project that was identified, it was guided by certain qualitative requirements with the interest of population foremost in mind, to ensure that it was participative in nature. It provided a sustainable advantage. It met the aspirations of a very large portion of the affected populace and impacted maximum portion of target population. Without going into any more on this, I would like to come straight to the India's assistance and the current perspective. As far as the livelihood and shelters are concerned, one of the major challenges post-conflict was rehabilitation of internally displaced persons, as was brought out. India supplied 250,000 livelihood packs to the displaced persons, comprising of food, clothes, and medicines immediately after the conflict. Government of India also supplied shelter material and construction material for reconstruction of shelters and repair of damaged houses to enable large number of families to go back to their original habitats. During the visit of President of Sri Lanka to India in June 2010, India assured construction of 50,000 houses at the cost of Sri Lankan 35 billion rupees. This project is in the final stages of completion. Besides meeting the housing requirement, what is more important is that all these projects collectively will generate millions of man-days of employment for the local population because it is participative in nature. All these houses will be completed by early 2015. I talk about the agriculture assistance. Since it's the primary means of livelihood in affected areas, assistance to the tune of 824 million Sri Lankan rupees was provided in the form of implements, seeds, and tractors to jumpstart the revival of local economy through agriculture renewal. Education and capacity building. This being an important area for long-term perspective, and it had to be started in right earnest right in the beginning. Education to the affected population have been taken care of by provision of scholarships, training of teachers, establishment of language labs, and distribution of computers, etc. It's an ongoing program and will help spread quality education. Beside these efforts, 79 rural schools who got damaged during the conflict and as it was brought out during the previous deliberations have been renovated in Kilinochchi, Malaitivu, and Wabunia educational zones. Based on the request of Eastern University through Government of Sri Lanka, the revival of Faculty of Siddha Medicine at Trincomalee was undertaken to enable students to pursue their career in Siddha Medicine. Medical equipment was also supplied to general hospitals at Kilinochchi and Malaitivu to improve medical facilities. These hospitals treat more than 500,000 people every year. Beside these, a new 150-bedded hospital is also being constructed at Dikoya. Four vocational training centers to impart training in various vocations have been established to enlarge scope of employment within the country and abroad. Vocational training for women in 7 trades identified by the Government of Sri Lanka has also been undertaken through self-employed women's associations. The project has made a huge impact on the livelihood of women-headed families and the war widows. Connectivity and transport infrastructure. The major infrastructure projects are being flashed on the view foil. To restore this connectivity, reduce the travel time, and increase economic activity in the region, major railway and rail bus projects are underway. I am told the rail bus project is very, very famous with the local people. These are in various stages of completion and will be completed in early 2015. India has also expressed its willingness to assist Government of Sri Lanka in developing Palali as a civilian airport. Besides these, significant efforts are on to ensure cultural revival. industrial development, and provision of much-needed electricity for any worthwhile venture. Demining and provision of artificial limbs are ongoing process. I have seen and we've been assured that 98% of the work on demining has been finished, and that there are just a very minuscule number, that is about 2%, and that also is going to be completed in the next fortnight or by middle of this month, which is even less than a fortnight. I have only one submission to make, that the mines have a very bad habit of appearing at the wrong time at the wrong place and hitting a wrong man. So therefore, this effort will have to be continued perhaps for some more time to come, and ensure that nobody gets his limb blown off because of some urgency or hurry in undertaking this task which was undertaken. Industries like tourism, fishing, telecommunication, banking, and financial services are being given necessary attention in consultation with Government of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, incidentally, is the largest trading partner and priority destination for direct investment for India. All projects, as I said earlier and as you would have seen, are being undertaken or completed in complete coordination with the Government of Sri Lanka and in partnership with host institutions. They may be anyone decided by the Government of Sri Lanka, an organization as per the terms of reference jointly arrived at with them. Each project is just a step toward reconstruction and rehabilitation of the affected personnel. Today, India-Sri Lanka relationship is strong and poised for a quantum jump by building on the rich legacy of historical linkages and strong economic and developmental partnerships that have been forged in the recent years. However, there is much to be done and miles to go, as they say. Let us, in our shared quest for peace and prosperity, sail forward together. Thank you, gentlemen. I have finished.